Okay, so today we're gonna go ahead and perform our pre-trip Form B. So the Form B is everything from your mirror and mirror bracket and the rest of the truck. Okay, all the way to the rear and the passenger side of the truck. So first thing we're gonna start with is our mirror and mirror bracket, making sure that they are both properly mounted, secured, not damaged, and not missing any hardware. Next, we're gonna check our door and door handle. They are both properly mounted, secured, not damaged, not missing any hardware, and our handle opens and closes properly. Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and open our door. Next thing we're looking for is we're gonna check our weather stripping, weather lining, door lining, whatever you wanna call it. Just don't call it the rubber on the door. We'll check it, make sure it's properly mounted, secured, not damaged, no cuts, cracks, or frays. Next, we're gonna check our window and our window cranker, which it actually is called, or window handle, if you feel more comfortable saying that. They are both properly mounted, secured, not damaged. Our window is clean, not cracked, and the handle rolls up and down properly. Next, we're gonna check our steps, grab handles, catwalk. Okay, they are all properly mounted, secured, not damaged, and not missing any hardware. Okay, next we're gonna come to the back of the truck. We're gonna check our frame, cross members. Let me put on my gloves. I like to get my hands dirty. Sorry, Loa, for all the editing you'll have to do. Okay, next we'll check our frame, cross members. They are both properly mounted, secured, not damaged, no cracks, and no illegal welds. Okay, after that, we're gonna come under here and we're gonna check our drive shaft and U-joints. They are both properly mounted and secured, not damaged, not missing any hardware, and there's no foreign objects like rocks that can get stuck in between that'll fly out while we're driving. Just a fun fact, if you didn't know, so when we do our 3-step air brake test and we're waiting for our air dryer to purge, this is our air dryer. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's where the air purges from. That's what we're listening for. Okay, moving on. So after we check our drive shaft and our U-joints, we're gonna go ahead and check our air brake components. So what we like to do here and what we teach you guys is you want to sit on the opposite side that you're going to check. Since we're on the driver's side, we're going to check the passenger side air brake components. Starting with our air brake hoses and fittings, making sure it's properly mounted and secured. It's not damaged, it's not leaking. Then we're going to go ahead and check our air brake chamber. It's properly mounted and secured. It's not damaged, it's also not leaking. Like the front, you're gonna go ahead and check your push rod and your slack adjuster, making sure it's properly mounted and secured, it's not damaged, not missing any hardware. And how we would check for proper adjustment is by chalking the wheels, releasing the parking brake, pulling on it, and making sure there's no more than 1 inch of play. Okay, so after I check my push rod and slack adjuster, I can go ahead and check my brake lining. It's properly mounted and secured, it's not damaged, it's not worn less than 1/4 of an inch or dangerously thin. Next, I'll check my brake drum. It's properly mounted and secured, it's not damaged, and there's no foreign material such as oil or grease in the drum. Okay, while we're down here, we can move on and check our suspension components. Starting with our leaf spring mounts or hangers, we're gonna make sure they're properly mounted and secured. It's not damaged, not missing any hardware. Next, we'll check our leaf springs. It's properly mounted and secured, not damaged, none are missing or misaligned. Okay. Then we're gonna come to the back. Because it's part of our suspension, we're gonna check our airbag. Airbag and airbag mount is properly mounted and secured. It's not damaged, the airbag is not leaking, the mounts aren't missing any hardware. And you also have your shocks in here. Your shocks are properly mounted and secured. Your shock and shock mounts are both properly mounted and secured. They're not damaged, your shock's not leaking, and your shock mounts aren't missing any hardware. Lastly, you can check your U-bolts. Your U-bolts are properly mounted and secured, not damaged, not missing any hardware. Okay, after we check our suspension components, we can go ahead and check our fender. Our fender is properly mounted, secured, it's not damaged, not missing any hardware. Then we can go ahead and move on to our tires. So since you have 2 tires on the back, you wanna talk in terms of plural. For example, next I will check both tires. They are both properly mounted and secured, they're not damaged, and they're not leaking. Next, I will check my sidewalls on both tires, the inner outer sidewall on both tires. They have no cuts, cracks, or bubbles. I'm checking for even tread wear across both tires and proper tread depth, which is a minimum of 2/32 on the drive, 4/30 seconds on the steer. Okay, next we'll move on to our rims. So we're gonna check the inner and outer of both rims. Inner and outer of both rims. It's properly mounted and secured, not damaged, no cracks, no illegal welds. Okay, next we're gonna go ahead and check our lug nuts. Our lug nuts are properly mounted and secured, not damaged. None are missing or none are loose or missing. Indication of a loose lug nut is rust trails and or shiny threads. Okay, next we're gonna check our axle flange. Our axle flange is properly mounted and secured, it's not damaged. Not missing any hardware, also not leaking if you want. Okay, next we'll move on to our valve stem. So since we have 2 tires on the rear, we're gonna check for 2 valve stems, our inner and outer valve stem. They are both properly mounted and secured. It's not damaged and it's not leaking. How we would check for tire pressure is by using a tire pressure gauge. Alrighty, okay. Let's move to the rear of the truck. Okay, so back here what we're checking for now is our lights. Same thing like we did with the front, we gotta check the rear lights. So we're gonna start with we're gonna check our left turn signal, right turn signal, our 4-way flashers, our brake lights, reverse lights, and also our license plate light. We wanna make sure that it's all properly mounted and secured. It's not damaged, they're clean, not cracked, and proper color, which is amber to the front and red to the rear. Okay, after you can go ahead and check your lights, we're gonna move on to the passenger side of the vehicle. All right. Okay, so starting on the passenger side of the vehicle, first thing we're gonna check is our fuel tank and our fuel tank cap. They are both properly mounted and secured, not damaged and not leaking. Next, we'll check our exhaust. Our exhaust is properly mounted and secured, it's not damaged and it's not leaking. Indication of a leaking exhaust would be black soot trails. Here's a tip. So say you forget to check your tires. For some reason you forget to check the tires on the driver's side. When you come to the passenger side and you remember, oh, I forgot to check my tires, you can check it on this side. Whatever's the same on the passenger side of the vehicle, did that make sense? No, whatever's the same on the passenger side of the vehicle, like the driver's side, you can check it. Now obviously you're not going to be able to check your fuel tank and exhaust on the driver's side of the vehicle, but anything that's the same, if you miss your frame, your cross members, your air brake components, your suspension components, if you forget to check it on the driver's side, you can always check it on the passenger side. Just don't tell the examiner that this completes my pre-trip Form B. As soon as you tell them you're done, test is done. So take your time. When you get to the passenger side, after you check your exhaust, run through your mental list and just make sure, okay, I checked this, and that. Other than that, that's everything. Hopefully you guys like the video. Like the video, subscribe to my channel. Nah. Leave a comment, reviews. No, that completes pre-trip Form B.